Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we love pop culture. Today, it's time for my weekly AEW Dynamite report for Wednesday, March 4th, 2020. Now we're coming off Revolution, so there's a lot of things to get caught up on. But first, before we go any further with this week's report, AEW has started pushing Blood and Guts, their next big event, the War Games. Now, who do you think will be in the War Games? Do you think it'll be Team MJF versus Team Cody Rhodes? Or do you think it'll be the Inner Circle versus Jon Moxley and some teammates of his choosing? Leave me a comment below. Let me know who you think will be in AEW's first War Games. But speaking of Jon Moxley, he kicks off the show. The new champion makes his way down to ringside. Moxley goes on to say that the AEW Championship now belongs to the people that brought pro wrestling back. Moxley then says he knows it's not over between him and the Inner Circle, and that he dares them to come out and take his title away. But it's not too long till the former Le Champion and the entire Inner Circle make their presence known. Jericho, in my opinion, continues to be the best and most consistent at cutting promos in the business when he tells Jon Moxley that he's a cheater because he thought he only had to prepare to fight a guy with one good eye. Jericho then tells the champ that if he's able to walk out of here, that he'll take a 60-day leave of absence as punishment. The first match of the night is an 8-man tag team match featuring all 3 members of SCU and AEW's newest acquisition, Colt Cabana, versus the Dark Order. Colt Cabana starts off the match and gets a really good reaction from the crowd. Cabana and the SCU also worked well together. The Dark Order themselves, who really don't get the credit they deserve, also worked well together as a foursome while punishing the Fallen Angel for a good portion of the beginning of the match. There's a really cool spot in the match when all 8 combatants are in the ring. Simultaneously, 4 men are thrown out. Evil Uno celebrates but comes to realize that it's his Dark Order crew that has been disposed of, and then proceeds to be on the receiving end of a 3-man attack. Colt Cabana has a very impressive Dynamite debut as he finishes off Dark member Alex Reynolds with his gut-busting Chicago Skyline drop off the top rope, getting the victory for his team. Evil Uno then grabs the mic and says, "This is not how it's supposed to go." But when the Exalted One appears, SCU needs to be ready because heads will roll. The next match of the night was Leva Bates versus Big Swole. Now, as soon as Big Swole was making her entrance down to the ring, I got up to get myself a drink to get ready for the match, and before I could even get back from the refrigerator, the bell rang and the match was over already. Now, Leva Bates was able to get a slap to the face and a backstabber in, but Swole makes quick work of the Librarian with a powerbomb followed by a cutter, then the Dirty Dancing forearm strike, and sent the Librarian home with yet another loss. Cody Rhodes comes out to cut a promo, but then Jake the Snake Roberts comes out and confronts Cody. Now, if you guys are new here to Toned In Entertainment, I actually got to interview Jake the Snake Roberts last July at River City Wrestling Con. You guys can check out that full video down below. And when I interviewed him, I asked him what he thought about AEW, and I guess he's kind of a fan because it looks like Jake the Snake Roberts is going to be sticking around just for a little bit. Jake tells Cody he's tired of hearing him cry, that the Snake is not here to praise him, but to slay him, and that the dark side will be coming to AEW. I'm really happy for Jake the Snake that he's got himself together, and it's great that in 2020, he can still cut one badass promo. Jake finishes by telling Cody that never ever turn your back on somebody you respect or are afraid of, and then proceeds to do just that to Cody as he flips the mic in the air and walks away. The next match of the night was Pac versus Chuck Taylor, who is looking to get some revenge for his best friend's buddy, Orange Cassidy, after what the Bastard did to him at Revolution. Chuck Taylor makes his way to the ring, accompanied by Trent and Cassidy. The Bastard makes his way down to ringside by himself. Taylor and Pac do have a good back and forth match, and I like to see a tag team guy in singles action every once in a while so they get an opportunity to shine. Unfortunately for Sexy Chucky T, he misses a series of moves on this night, including a moonsault off the top rope, allowing Pac to lock in the Brutalizer and get the submission victory. Pac and Trent then go into a stare down when Freshly Squeezed comes in and pushes Trent back to confront the man that got the best of him at Revolution. But before Pac and Cassidy Part 2 can happen, the Lucha Brothers once again come to Pac's defense, hitting Cassidy with a double super kick to the head from the blind side. After clearing the ring of the best friends, Pac grabs the mic and says he's joined forces with the Lucha Brothers and they will be known as the Death Triangle, and that nobody is safe. Now we have another faction in AEW. What do you think of the Death Triangle? I'm assuming by the name that this will just be a 3-person faction. The next match was yet another revenge match as Dustin Rhodes' buddy QT Marshall looked to get his hands on the Inner Circle's Jake Hager. So are we going to get Hager in action now on a regular basis? Let's hope so. Now on paper, it was pretty much a given that Hager would be victorious. And while QT put on a valiant effort here, he was no match for the brute force of Hager, who put Marshall to sleep with a standing arm triangle, getting his second victory in AEW. After the match is when the most excitement happens. Dustin comes to the aid of QT when Hager won't release a sleeper hold. It's then followed by Proud and Powerful coming to the aid of Hager, which in turn leads to Dustin's brother Cody coming out to his rescue. Cody begins to clear the ring of the Inner Circle, but he's bashed in the back with a chair by Ortiz. As the Inner Circle begins to pummel Cody, Matt Jackson now hits the ring. And while Jackson has success handling Proud and Powerful, the size and strength of Hager are too much for this young buck to handle. But don't fret, because with beer in hand, the Hangman makes his way down to the ring. After asking the ring post to hold his beer, Hangman single-handedly clears the ring of the Inner Circle trio, and with the flip of a middle finger to Matt Jackson, proceeds to celebrate with the fans in the stands, Hangman style. We then get a promo from the guy who's better than you, and you know it, and a guy who also has no problem with flicking off a 7-year-old kid in public, and that's MJF. During his promo, he brags about his win over Cody and that his legacy is to be the greatest champion in history. MJF says he doesn't care if it's Jericho, the Hangman, Omega, or Pac. His goal is now becoming the #1 contender and winning the AEW Championship. It's now time for our tag team main event as we get the Inner Circle Sammy Guevara and Chris Jericho making their way down to ringside first. Next up is one of their opponents, Darby Allin, who skates his way down to the ring. Jon Moxley, the new champ, starts to make his way through the crowd, but he's greeted by a couple guys who necessarily aren't his biggest fans. As Moxley passes these guys with hoodies and lucha masks, these mysterious men jump him. The 3 mysterious men proceed to take the fight to Moxley out in the concession area. They remove their masks, and big shocker here, it was Proud and Powerful and Jake Hager in disguise. The bell is rung and Darby Allin is now pitted in a handicap match. But we know Darby Allin is going to bring a fight to Jericho and Guevara. And while Darby does get some offense in, the numbers are too much to handle as now Proud and Powerful and Jake Hager also circle the ring like hungry sharks. After taking a beating by both Jericho and Guevara, Darby tags himself in. Yes, you heard that right, and that tag gives him a breath of fresh air, and now he begins to turn the tables. After flipping Guevara outside the ring, this leads to my favorite spot of the night when off the top turnbuckle, Darby hits the coffin drop on all 5 members of the Inner Circle outside the ring. The crowd begins to go nuts for Darby as he lands another coffin drop on Sammy Guevara, but the pin attempt is broken up by Jericho just before the ref can count to 3. Now Darby gets a little greedy, launching himself to the outside of the ring at Jericho, but is met with the Judas effect, knocking Darby out and allowing Guevara to get the pin. As the Inner Circle celebrates, Jon Moxley comes down to the ring with a steel chair. Moxley gets some shots in, but the 5-1 numbers game is not in his favor. The Inner Circle drag Moxley up the ramp, and then Jake Hager proceeds to powerbomb Moxley through a table. The show ends with a splattered Moxley receiving a 1-finger salute by each member of the Inner Circle. This week's episode of Dynamite did feature several wrestlers we don't get to see on TV that often, so that was a nice change of pace. Plus, they're starting to build towards Blood and Guts, the War Games, in less than 3 weeks. I'm really excited about that. Plus, Jake the Snake Roberts coming out and cutting a promo on Cody Rhodes. Come on, how awesome was that? Now, the past couple weeks of AEW Dynamite have really been something to talk about with the cage match, the lashes, the Iron Man match. Now, this week, I thought the show was good, but it really didn't leave a lasting lasting impression. I don't think there's going to be much about this show we're going to be talking about in the future. So that's why I'm going to give this week's episode of AEW Dynamite a B. It was a good show, but again, nothing to write home about, nothing that you didn't miss that you have to go out and check. It was just a good show, and it was entertaining. Now, what did you guys think about this week's AEW Dynamite episode? Leave me a comment below, and guys, make sure you subscribe here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.